Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's 1 million by 1 million strategy roundtable for entrepreneurs. 1M1M, as you know, is the first global virtual accelerator in the world. Our mission is to help 1 million entrepreneurs reach $1 million and beyond in annual revenue, build $1 trillion in global GDP, and 10 million jobs. And in support of that mission, we do these free mentoring sessions week after week after week. On Thursday morning specific times, usually we are here doing one of these working sessions. And today is a milestone event. It's the 350th 1M1M roundtable for entrepreneurs, and I am thrilled to have you all participate in this session. And it's also a moment for us to pause and just take a deep breath and look at what we have been able to do here together with all of you entrepreneurs all over the world. Over 50,000 entrepreneurs have participated, and Maureen has gloriously managed this whole stream of events for years now, since 2008, the fall of 2008. And, we've learned a lot. I hope you've learned something too. And today we're going to continue with more of these, and hopefully in months and years to come, weeks, months and years to come, we'll be able to keep bringing you this body of work. The event is being recorded. All recordings are available on our YouTube channel, and we publish them on the blog as well. The Twitter channel is at 1M1M. And you can also follow me personally on SRAMANA. If you're live tweeting the show today, please use hashtag 1M1M. The YouTube channel is 1M1M Roundtables. And Maureen, could you also share with our audience the new podcast channel that we just released on iTunes, and we will be formally launching this next week, but I want to give those of you who are here a little preview. We're basically taking all our YouTube recordings and excerpting some of them and publishing them as podcasts, because we've had over the years requests that people want to be able to listen while they're driving or going for a walk or a run or whatever. So that work is in progress. We will be able to give you the first 25 to 30 of those next week. Actually, they're available now, and it's going to be a broader release across multiple podcast channels shortly. And then in due course, we're going to give you all the YouTube recordings of these conferences, especially where we've had guests participate, as podcasts. So it'd be interesting for you to have that other way of listening to them available. Now, these are the calling numbers for 650-479-3208, access code 663-796-891. This is a roundtable, so we want you to participate as much as possible. Introduce yourselves, tell us who you are, where you're joining from, what brought you here, what challenges are you facing, and try to participate as much as possible. Let me set a bit of expectations before we dive into the entrepreneur pitch sessions, and then we're going to get started with your presentations. Remember, this is a safe working session. We are here to help you accelerate your journey. That's the only reason we are here. We have absolutely no other agenda. We have no interest in being gratuitously showy or, mean or anything. But we have pledged to give you honest, direct feedback that you need to hear, not feedback that you want to hear. There is no point for me to give you a pat on the back and, send you along if you're going down the wrong path. My job is to tell the truth and give you perspective based on what I know, what I've learned. And when we have guests co-mentoring the sessions, that is what we brief them as well to do, is to give you direct, honest feedback. So you may disagree with the feedback. It's your venture. You do whatever you want with it. Whatever strategy you want to follow is up to you. But we do give you very thoughtful feedback, so consider it and then decide what you want to do. Remember one thing though, not all businesses can raise money. Not all businesses should raise money, and raising money doesn't guarantee success. If you're looking to raise angel or venture capital, typically those types of investments come with the expectation that you're going to go from $0 to $100 million in 5 to 7 years in terms of revenue. Now, going from $0 to $100 million in 5 to 7 years in revenue is a very, very difficult task. Very few companies accomplish that. And very few companies have the, structural parameters with which to accomplish that. And that's what investors are trying to gauge is, do you have the parameters to accomplish that kind of high velocity growth? And if so, then you qualify for venture capital. If not, you still may be fine building a business with customers, revenues, and profits, and that is perfectly all right. As far as 1M1M is concerned, we are okay either way. Whether you want to become successful the organic route, or whether you want to become successful the venture-funded route, either way is fine. We will advise you in making those choices as well based on our experience. So that's just something that you have to take into account, that is not a binary decision. It's a decision that is based on a whole lot of stuff that you have to work through. And as I said, this is a roundtable. Please participate as much as possible. So we are going to actually start not here, but we're going to start with Ricardo Javier Martinez. Ricardo, please unmute your line and tell us what you're working on.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, thank you so much for having me today on this super special milestone episode. I truly, truly appreciate it.
What are you working on, Ricardo?
Perfect. So as of right now, I'm running an e-commerce consultancy company in which we help out several e-commerce websites as well as local services that want to transition into selling products. Right now, we're offering help to 9 e-commerce websites and also 3 local services through search engine optimization, Facebook ads, and content marketing.
Okay.
Next slide, please. Perfect. So as of right now, as we're focusing a lot on Facebook advertising, one of the biggest issues that we're having is that we're getting a lot of clients that have been burned due to the fact that there's too many courses out there teaching Facebook ads within 4 weeks or 8 weeks, and experts, I put in quotation marks, go out there trying
Ricardo, is your computer sound on?
Yes, it is.
Can you mute that? Because that's streaming echo into the audio.
Perfect. Is it better now?
It's much better. Please go ahead.
Okay, perfect. I apologize for that. As I was saying, some of the biggest issues that we're having is that we're getting a lot of clients that are hearing back from us, and they have already been burned about 2 or 3 times. Therefore, it's sort of disrupting the industry and chipping it. And that's one of the biggest issues that we're having right now with clients that want to start running Facebook advertising. Next slide, please. So right now, of course, we don't only focus on customer acquisition for our clients through Facebook ads. We do Facebook ads. We do a lot of Instagram scraping as well as API scraping through other websites.
Is this about how you acquire clients, or are you talking about how you acquire customers on behalf of clients?
This is how we acquire customers on behalf of clients.
On behalf of clients. Okay, got it. Please keep going.
So we do it through Facebook advertising as well as Instagram scraping. We also scrape different websites through APIs and different plugins. We also do different types of Facebook ads, and the reason why it's mentioned there is because we get into, let's say, brand awareness, local awareness, conversions, and then as well as anything related to paid search and retargeting, and then also through affiliate marketing and display. Next slide, please. Perfect. So actually, let's jump another slide since I briefly went over that in my introduction. And the question, the most important questions that I had for you were, what are your thoughts on the Facebook industry getting too saturated with too many people that are calling themselves experts, and how would you handle that situation if you were to meet up with a prospect or a client that had already been burned around 2 or 3 times?
So I think you're absolutely right that there's a very, very large number of people out there who claim to be consultants who help with, or who call themselves experts and are, positioning themselves as Facebook advertising gurus and trying to help people navigate through that. In any consulting business, there's a huge difference between really high-quality consultants versus, low-end consultants who claim things. So how do you differentiate? And this is true about all kinds of consulting. And in your case, I think the way to build up your reputation and your credibility is going to be through customer case studies and success stories and metrics. The good news about Facebook advertising is everything is measurable.
Right.
So every single customer that you have been able to recruit, you should quantify and turn them into case studies, assuming that you have delivered successfully results for those customers. Every single one of them you need to turn into, full-fledged case studies, and and develop the stream of case studies, and put them out there on your website and so forth, so that is visible, easily accessible, etc., testimonials and so forth. The other thing that I see is for you, given what you do, a lot of the recruiting for this kind of services happens through online services platforms like Upwork. Are you on Upwork? Are you acquiring customers through Upwork?
No, truthfully, I do not acquire clients through Upwork, and the reason why I'm not, and my business is not on Upwork, is because there tends to be a lower pay rate, and the expectations are much more difficult to control whenever people hire through Upwork, just because the company seems as too easy to replace, and that's not the sort of branding and mentality that I wish to have with a prospect or a lead.
Well, I wouldn't make that assumption. I would put you. It's a very good place to, to make yourself visible, because there's foot traffic, right? You want to advertise somewhere. I mean, how can you get to that kind of precision when you are advertising? Look at your. Actually, you don't have a slide on your own customer acquisition strategy, do you?
No, I do not, and we do everything right now through referrals and actually cold outreach that we're scraping websites and sort of finding their issues and connecting with the decision maker, letting them know how we're able to solve that problem. From there, we go to a one-on-one meeting or a phone consultation and then close the deal.
It will get you so far. What you want inbound leads. That's a requirement. In scaling any business, you want inbound leads. And I would make a strong case for going with Upwork. And you don't have to bid for all the projects, right? You put yourself on Upwork, you create, and you state what your rates are, and you only bid for projects that are looking for high-end resources. And you, in any case, if you have a good website, people will be looking at that website. People will be finding you through that website and so forth. But if you can develop strong reputation on Upwork, it would be very helpful for you to have inbound leads. If everything is outbound, you don't really know whether people are actually interested in using your services. The sales cycles are going to be very long if you're hitting up unprepared people, right? I mean, I get people who are hitting me up like, do you want our services? Do you want me to build websites for you and do this and that for? I'm like, no, leave me alone, go away. So if that is the only way you are trying to acquire customers, you'll have a very slow velocity of growth.
Perfect. Thanks for the input and for the advice. In terms of velocity and growth as of right now, the reason why it hasn't been surpassing the numbers that we want to have is because we also focus on delivering different softwares and training courses, which are actually around another 50% of the revenue that comes through the company. So that's why I'm not trying to scale through so many clients at the same time, but mostly putting the efforts on the long-term plan for, again, training courses and other revenue methods such as creating software. However, let's keep this question and go to the next slide to have perfect. So, in terms of your experience, what are your thoughts on the entrepreneurial ecosystem in the city of Miami? I know you have mentioned that it's sort of weak around other states that are not California and New York, but what are your actual specifications on the ecosystem in Miami?
I don't have any problems with ecosystem in Miami. There are plenty of businesses in Miami, and if the way you do your customer acquisition is focused on Miami and local and where you can actually meet people and work with people face-to-face with personal relationships, I think that's a perfectly fine strategy.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for that. And you previously mentioned, sorry, go ahead.
I already talked to you about case studies, and the kind of case studies I would like to see if you came to pitch me on your services would be metrics. I would like to understand exactly what you did for your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 clients, and what kinds of metrics did you deliver for them, and how.
Perfect. Awesome. Yeah, that's something that we're currently putting efforts on. So right now, for example, we only have 50% of the case studies, and definitely working on more within the next couple of weeks. And the last question that I have for you is, as of right now, for example, of course, revenue is pretty good, but there's always new opportunities that come up in terms of full-time jobs that offer sometimes twice the money that I get to keep at the end of the, let's say, year from my business. So in terms of, I just wanted to see your opinion. When would you consider a good time to actually sort of give up on X amount of revenue just to go ahead and take something that offers double the money, which is on very, very high level, six-figure income?
So that really depends on who you are and what your long-term ambitions are. If you can make, building a business is not a one-day affair, it's not an overnight affair, it takes a while, and sometimes years. But if entrepreneurship is something that you care deeply about, and in the long run you want to run your own company, then and you have already built up revenue and customers, and it seems like based on what you do, it's something that you can scale. It's going to take some tweaking and some work to figure out how to do it and so forth, but it's something that you can scale. At some point, that number is going to change. Once you get to million, 2 million in revenue, making that in salaries is going to be very difficult.
Yeah,
and of course, that is not all going to be coming to you. There's a profit to that and so forth. But if it's a question of building up, to a certain revenue level, where you will have enough profits to really have, not only match up but far surpass your income. That in business that does happen. That doesn't happen so easily in salaried jobs. That's number one. The second thing actually is something else that you need to think about. You need to understand and really take a deep look at who you are as a person and what drives you. If running your own business and doing your own company versus taking a job, these are interchangeable options, then you're one kind of person. And then we have these other spectrums where people just don't want to work for other people. They want to run their own businesses, in which case you're a different type of person. I don't really know you, so you have to, this is a decision that you're going to need to kind of calibrate based on who you are.
Perfect. Absolutely understood and 100% agree with that last question. Thank you so much for your time. I truly appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
Have a great day. Take care.
Okay. J.R. Smith. Thank you, Ricardo. J.R. Smith, you're up next from Prague.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Super, super. So my name is J.R. Smith. I'm one of 3 founders for a product called Nuro Secure Messaging, and that's what we're going to talk about. My fun fact is that I am a musician, meaning I'm a singer-songwriter, guitar player. I have a band, maybe 2. Not to say I'm any good, but I have a lot of fun with it.
And what kind of music do you play?
Anything from blues to rock to grunge to whatever we write. We don't do covers, we do originals, but we have fun.
And
that's the main thing.
Are you Czech by origin? Your accent doesn't sound Czech.
Yeah, no, I'm an American from Seattle, living in Prague.
I see. Okay, yeah. Very interesting. Prague is beautiful. I've been to Prague and I loved it.
Yeah, it's nice. And my co-founders are named Aaron and Omri, and they're from Israel, which is where the company is based.
Okay, all right. Let's listen to what you're working on.
Yeah, so we have created a product. I guess the best way to explain it is if you think of WhatsApp, there's consumer-grade collaboration and messaging platforms that are now being used in the private sector, meaning corporations, military, police, government, and there is a huge hole that we have found that needs to be filled, and that is there needs to be an enterprise-grade platform that is just as easy to use, just as functional, allows you to collaborate, work on documents, do everything like a Slack would do, or like I say, a WhatsApp or some of those other products would do. And so we've built that product. And so what I mean by secure, private, and controlled is that from a security perspective, the platform is scanned for malware. It is sitting on your servers, on your corporate back end, so that it's behind your firewall, so it's safe. It's fully encrypted. It's got all kinds of functionality around behavior analysis and around keyword identification and a whole bunch of things. So it's actually a more powerful, I think, platform than email. And but the key is that it's also managed and controlled within your company, so that you can pull up the dashboard, you can add customers, you can add them, take them off, you can see what the activity looks like, you can invite people from other companies to join, on the platform. So it truly is, I think, the enterprise solution to these kind of problems. And it is a problem. When we talk to CISOs, they get the problem, but I'll talk about what we are and something that maybe you can help us with as we move down the deck. So next slide.
So you may have this already in somewhere downstream in your deck, but one thing I would like to understand is what are the closest competitors that you are evaluating? Because the first thing that comes to mind as I'm listening to you is, my banker is Morgan Stanley, and they use, and all banks do, they use secure messaging, and it's a good system. So I'm wondering, what is it that's missing? And I don't know who the provider is, and I'm not sure what is missing. So I'd like to understand better what is the competitive landscape around this whole functionality.
Yeah. So what they're using, because I've spoken to these guys, I've actually worked with many of them, and they're using usually an internal platform that was built. Like I talked with the CTO of Goldman Sachs, and he said, I like it, but we've built one. Yes, no, it's not as robust, but, you know, we have 700 engineers at Goldman. We build these platforms for ourselves internally. So a lot of the big banks, like the JP Morgans, the Goldmans, et cetera, they've got solutions. And there's a product called Symphony, which will soon be competing with the Bloomberg terminals for information sharing and stock prices and communication such as this. And that's actually funded by a lot of the banks you mentioned and that I just mentioned. And so that'll be their preferred platform. But what we look at is industries that are regulated in many ways, whether it's auditing, whether it's accounting, whether it's law firms, and all of the, you know, other banks and financial institutions around the planet that would look for a product to communicate internally and with their customers in a safe and secure manner. So there's nobody in the market today that has all the functionality and manageability and privacy and security that we have, but there are products like Tiger Text, which is in the medical services, where doctors can use it to view graphs, to send information between the doctors, to speak to their clients in a very secure manner. So it's also a messaging platform that has some of the functionality that I've just described. There's other products like HipChat or a few others, but most of these are being used by small groups within an organization, which is also the same as Slack. I'm sure you've heard of Slack. They're used by a lot of engineering groups and a lot of techie guys within organizations, but this is meant to be something that's more coming in through the CISO, through the risk management, even through the CEO. It says this is our platform of choice because it sits on our back end. We use it internally, but we can also use it externally. We own the data. We know it's safe, you know, because they spend tens of millions of dollars a year keeping all their information on their servers safe. But these particular platforms sit outside of their domain. They sit, you know, on Facebook's platforms, on Google's platforms, or on somebody else's. So is it safe? And what are they doing with that information is the biggest thing, you know, some of the biggest questions we have. So this slide kind of goes through and tells you, here's what we give to our customer.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yep. And your analysis is that it's in the mid-market banks and financial institutions where you want to penetrate the market?
Yeah, so it's funny, we were having a conversation just yesterday about that because that's where we sit, kind of financial services, mid-level, but even that can be quite big, you know, investment banks and, you know, companies with large trading platforms and various things. But this is really a product that can be used by any company, organization that has something to protect, is worried about breaches, wants to be able to manage, you know, the workflow and the conversations and be transparent. So if the SEC knocks on their door and says, hey, what were these 3 traders talking about on December 14th, you can go, well, here's their emails and here's their Nuro, you know, transcripts. Because while it's encrypted, both on the device, in the pipe, and on the server, you can, as an internal to the company, you can unencrypt it and read the contents, which is something none of the other platforms allow you to do. So,
no, I understand that it will apply to a variety of different types of situations, but you do have to penetrate the market somewhere, and I think it's a very well-known strategy of penetrating through verticals and you know, some sort of a segmentation of the market. Yeah, I'm sure you know that.
Yeah, that's where we're focused. Like I said, we're kind of looking at those mid-tier financial services, which kind of plays into, you can kind of throw into the accounting and auditors kind of right in that same bucket.
Okay. And you're looking at 50 to 500K annual contracts, and it's a SaaS model per user kind of thing.
It's a per site model, not a per user. Some of these products that are on the market today, they do a per user per month, which we think is a little bit broken because we want them to pay what it's worth, and we want them to encourage people in the organization to use it. And so if they're paying $100,000 a year, then they're going to actively engage. If it's just per person per seat, they're like, oh, we only pay as you go, so who cares? Right? So I want to make sure we're aligned internally and externally.
Okay.
So if you look at the next slide, we're doing a lot on driving awareness. We're using a platform called Discover.org for lead gen. This is classic enterprise sales with, our own internal people doing the lead gen and and the meetings and the selling. So it's a direct sales model. You can see we do have some qualified leads in the pipe right now, and we've got some people trying it. And we've got some existing customers, but those existing customers were the design partners and kind of proof of concept guys, so they use it for free, and they'll use it for free, pretty much forever. There's mobile, there are police, there's military, it's Israeli tough, I guess. So these are the kind of guys that use it out of Israel.
And you are selling to the CISO?
Well, that's something I wanted to talk about with you, and that is today we are selling mainly to the CISO. However, we're having discussions around should we be selling to the risk manager and compliance person instead, or maybe we should be selling to the CEO, because this is kind of that security privacy, but it is a collaboration platform. This makes work efficiencies. It ties into your workflow. Now, you can plug this into your CRM system and get reports from it. You can get invoices. You can do whatever. The platform is very flexible, so it's not just about typing and sending documents. So we're kind
I don't think it will work. To sell to the CEO is not going to work. CEOs don't really pay a lot of attention to this, especially, you're talking about BDO and SoftBank and so forth. CEOs are just not going to take the time to worry about this stuff. So you have to either do CIO or CISO. And that's really, and that's fine, that's good news. Those are people who are very, very much in the fray of things, and they're supposed to know what they're doing, what their options are, and so forth, and they're very used to buying technology, so I don't see that as a problem.
Yeah,
but the CEO is not going to take the time to do this.
Yeah, that's kind of what we're thinking. We've had a couple people kind of say the opposite, but I kind of agree with you. But we may test it, but I think you're right. I'm trying to think what else. That's one of the big pressing questions. With respect to enterprise sales, because we've all done various things in our life, and most of it was you can leave it on the next slide. That's okay. You can leave it on the last slide. But a lot of what we do has been very consumer and small business oriented. So if there's any kind of big thoughts around the selling to enterprises that may be enlightening would be very helpful. Because that's the mission we're about to start, and it'll be focused on the United States.
So my suggestion is that you try to understand how 1Mby1M works. We work extensively with enterprise software companies. And it's something that I would say we are very good at. We are very good at, teaching entrepreneurs how to, build enterprise sales organization strategies. Our network is full of people in organizations where people buy technology and so on and so forth. So you should try to understand 1Mby1M. I understand that Maureen told me just now in private chat that you came, Sheldon referred you to the Roundtable, and I'll answer your question too. Why did we ask for cybersecurity entrepreneurs? If you go to the blog, the 1Mby1M blog, you'll see that we have a thought leaders in cybersecurity series of interviews. So very often we have people who have interesting vantage points in cybersecurity, and we publish extensive interviews with, lots of details on how that industry is evolving, and it's been an ongoing coverage for many years. It's part of our trend coverage. We cover, over 20 different trends in the industry, and each of those we have thought leadership series of interviews on, whether it's AI or big data or Internet of Things, cybersecurity, e-commerce, online education, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what the query that I think you responded to, and that's how you came to us. But those, people who get invited to participate in those interviews have to be at a revenue level above $5 million. So people who are, early stage companies, typically we we talk to them and get to know about them and see how we can help in these roundtable formats. And we also have a series called Deal Radar, where people who have crossed $1 million in revenue, we profile them in that series. Those are the ways we cover companies, but for companies that are below $1 million, the only format in which we interact with them are these roundtables.
Gotcha. Cool. Well, thank you. It's been very interesting.
Very welcome. I will talk about 1 million by 1 million in a moment. So you can ask if you want to have questions about 1M1M. I'll answer them after I've done the introduction piece, and then I'll introduce you to people whom you can talk to further if that's something of interest to you.
Great. Thank you.
All right. It seems like there was a misunderstanding about the Bowtree presentation. Somebody thought that this was an in-person roundtable and decided that we needed to be somewhere. Anyway, let's do a few video tutorials. You may have seen that we have been publishing a lot of very short, 1 minute, 2 minute video tutorials. And I'm also trying to spend some time in the roundtables going over a couple of those at a time, just to, highlight some of the learnings of those. So, Maureen, if you would start with the do not dilute too much equity right away video, that would be great. All right, folks. So the reason I wanted to bring this to your attention is that we very often get entrepreneurs in the program who come to us and they've already given up so much equity that it's very, very difficult to raise new funding without almost taking away all of their equity. And that is a very unhappy situation for entrepreneurs. Long term, you can't build a good company, a solid company, if you give up too much equity too soon. So just want to caution you that if you're raising money early on, raise money on a convertible note and do not give up equity until you have command enough valuation such that you can raise money at a decent valuation. Okay, so we'll do another one, how to raise venture capital and end up with no money. Go ahead, Maureen. Okay, folks, so the reason I wanted to bring that one to your attention is that we see this all the time is investors are slapping huge liquidation preferences on term sheets, and people raise money, lots of money, and then find themselves in this very unhappy situation where they've spent years of their lives working on something and have ended up making no money from that process. So those are two tutorials that I wanted to go through. If you have questions, feel free to ask in public chat, and we will go to Q&A next. I'm just going to spend 3-4 minutes explaining to you how to use the 1M1M program. And before I do that, I'd like to request you to, if you like what we are doing here, please bring serious entrepreneurs into 1M1M. I'd love to, work with more serious entrepreneurs, not people who think that they're going to be successful just, on a dime. It takes a lot of years to build a company, and if you are somebody who has the grit and the mindset to really learn what you need to learn to build a solid business over a period of time, that's the kind of entrepreneurs we tend to be able to contribute to. People with unrealistic expectations and no work ethic, that's not the kind of people we like to work with or are successful working with. So resources-wise, you'll find everything at 1Mby1M.com. We have a terrific blog, and we really publish an intense amount of content that if you just follow the blog and do nothing else, your understanding of entrepreneurship, and technology in general is going to dramatically go up. Then we have the Entrepreneur Journeys book series, which is a series of 12 books. These are case study-based books, 12 to 16 case studies per book, and each double-click on a particular topic. So it could be cloud computing, it could be you want to learn positioning, it could be you want to learn bootstrapping with a paycheck or bootstrapping using services. All of that is fine. Then we have these roundtables. You can keep coming back to them. They're available week after week after week. We also have the full acceleration program, where we offer you extensive methodology guidance. We have an intense curriculum that is developed in collaboration with 750+ successful entrepreneurs, including 50+ unicorn entrepreneurs, about 400 heavily venture-funded companies, and then 300+ bootstrap success stories. And all these entrepreneurs have contributed their journeys and their methodologies, their successes, their mistakes, and we have stitched it all up into a digital curriculum that you can access from anywhere in the world. We also help you with business development. We have an extensive network, and you can access our network as much as you want if you're part of the premium program for accessing potential customers, channel partners, investors, media, analysts. We are very well connected. And that connection, that portfolio of connections is available to you as part of the full acceleration program through 1M1M Premium that would cost you $1,000 annual membership fee. We help you with financing. You have to become financeable. There's a whole set of criteria that are requirements for being fundable. You have to get there. And until you get there, we will help you put one foot before the other. And once you get there, we will introduce you to investors. That's how we manage the financing part. We can't, just because you joined the program, we can't introduce you to investors. That would completely destroy our credibility with investors. They won't look at our stuff if we don't do the due diligence. But once you get there, we have a great network of investors and would be happy to introduce you. And the last thing is media. So we have tremendous clout in the media. I'm a high-level, top-level actually, LinkedIn influencer with over 300,000 followers, or just under 300,000 followers, maybe something like that, somewhere in that ballpark. I haven't checked lately what my follower count is. But that's just one platform. We have a newsletter that is over 100,000 people, subscribers. We have huge Facebook, Twitter, all kinds of different places that we operate in. And then we have our own blog and syndication relationships with all kinds of other media platforms. So all this gives you, as a premium member, access to our media channels to get the word out there on what you are doing, what you have to offer, and build credibility through social proof and PR. PR is a very powerful tool, and we acknowledge that, we recognize that, and we make our PR clout available to our accelerator members. Maureen says the follower count crossed 300,000 today. All right, well, that's LinkedIn. So now, one thing I would recommend that you do, whatever it is that you're doing, whatever stage you are at, please go to the 1M1M self-assessment on the blog and ask yourself these questions. These are the questions all investors are going to ask you. Ask yourself this question about your business and try to calibrate your business. If you run into methodology gaps, you can go to 1M1M Basic, which is a curriculum-only option, and try to plug those methodology gaps on your own. It's a very inexpensive way to do it, $99 a month for unlimited access to the curriculum. That's a very convenient way to build up your knowledge and plug methodology gaps. So that's pretty much, those are the options. To work with us in an acceleration program, you have to either do 1M1M Basic or do the full acceleration program, 1M1M Premium. Go to the website. There's tons of information. Dig around and decide whether this program is for you. If you decide that you want to work in the program, we'll be happy to work with you and add value to your journey. There are tons of video FAQs, etc., that should answer all your questions, whether it's about funding, whether it's about PR, whether it's about, how the program works, etc. It is a case study-based program, and we really have tried to simulate this experience that as you go through these case studies, as you use the video and text material that's available to you, that you really get deeply into the heads of the people whom you're trying to learn from. And you know, you're not going to meet 750 successful entrepreneurs and have a chance to sit down with them anytime soon. You just don't have that kind of access. But through this program, you will have enough access to understand how they have managed to navigate their journey, how they've put one foot before the other. And it's very, very inspiring, and you will learn a ton. Our methodology is lean, capital-efficient, bootstrap startups. Most of the funding industry is moving more and more towards later stage ventures. They want to invest big time money into proven later stage companies. So the companies that we see are at the most advantage are the ones that bootstrap to validation, even to traction, and then raise money. So bootstrap first, raise money later tends to be our philosophy towards funding. That's pretty much it. We have roundtables every week in May. Feel free to sign up on the blog, on the website, and then Maureen will make sure that you have a slot. And then we can go to Q&A at this point. Please either call in or use the public chat to ask your questions. Set your chat to send to all participants. That way you will be able to, you know, whatever you ask in the public chat, everybody can see it. Let me also introduce you to Irina Patterson. Irina, her email is irina@1Mby1M.com, and she will answer all your questions about the 1M1M program. Even after this session, you can just reach out to her, and she'll take the time to work with you and address your questions, help you decide what, you know, whether you're a fit for the program, whether we're a fit for you, etc. But first and foremost, start at the website. Okay, questions, anybody?
Hi, this is JR. Just wanted to say thank you. It's nice to be aware of your organization. It's probably, you know, just due to our size and everything, not a really good fit for us right now, but thanks for the resource. I'm sure that we'll be looking through it on occasion. And two, you guys might consider on your invites to have numbers that are local to your participants, because I've just dialed into a U.S. number, yet I'm sitting in Prague. So just as part of that international, might be good to have more numbers there for guys like us. But again, thank you. It's nice to get to know you a little bit and see what you guys are offering. You know, and that's it.
All right, thank you. Thanks for coming. Sham, what is your question? You were wondering if there's a separate forum for ideation phase only. No, we have lots of ideation phase companies in the program. You're perfectly okay to use this for ideation as well. There is methodology that you need to learn. You know, ideation works when you couple it with good methodology that helps you validate. And a lot of, if you start with 5 ideas, there's a very good chance that a lot of your ideas are not going to validate, and maybe one will look really good and has good legs. Maureen is providing a popular question from Quora. How does a bootstrap startup compete with heavily funded ones? We get this question all the time, actually. So the way I answer this question on Quora is I will answer your question with a fantastic case study. Hotel Planner is a bootstrap company that is now doing $25 million a year and is a market leader in the group travel and hotel booking sector. When they started, they had numerous heavily funded competitors who were spending money like there was no tomorrow, but they were not focused on fundamentals. When the market crashed, they could not keep raising money, and one after another, they all went out of business. Hotel Planner was slow and steady, executing with a fundamentals-oriented approach. In the end, they emerged the winner. So their death by overfunding is a very common problem that happens in companies in the tech industry, because there is such a, praise about funding. And often, people die out of that process, and then the ones that have not raised huge amounts of money and have focused on fundamentals end up the winner. So it looks like Suhash Mehta and Sachin Kanade have questions. Why don't you ask questions in the public chat? You're raising your hands, but what is your question? Just either come to the public chat and ask your question, or come or dial into the call. If you want to put up the phone line here, if you want to call in. Sachin is asking, for startup companies, generally customers worry about commitment and long-term support because of lack of faith on startup company. And this is one of the reasons sometimes customers refuse offer. How to manage and resolve this type of deadlock? Sachin, there are lots of companies who buy routinely from startups, and these are the early adopters. So there is, yes, there is some pushback from certain class of companies, but in tech today, there are enough companies that are willing to buy from startups that you can always navigate your way to those companies. Sham is asking, another question is, how much is organic growth slowly rather through revenue as opposed to investing heavily on the onset? Well, I don't understand the question. Is important. Well, the question is different. The question is, the issue is over 99% of the companies who seek outside investment actually fail to get outside investment. They get rejected because they don't fit the venture capital model. The venture capital model is very specific, and it's designed to go from 0 to $100 million in 5 to 7 years. And if that is not what you're looking for, or that is not something that you can deliver, that's what they are looking for. If that's not something that you can deliver through convincingly that, yes, my company can grow at that kind of hyper-fast growth rate, then you don't qualify for venture capital. So you will have to grow organically. You don't have a choice. That's the real statistical dilemma that you'll need to be aware of. Anybody else?
SRAMANA, Suhash Mehta here.
Go ahead, Suhash.
So, SRAMANA, thank you for giving all these roundtables and giving me an opportunity to ask my questions and get the answers. So we are currently moonlighting on some ideas for product.
Yeah.
And we are 3 co-founders, but all of us are moonlighting. Nobody is full-time. We have put in our own money.
That is actually great news. I don't know if this is your first time or you've been here before, but you may have heard me talk about bootstrapping with a paycheck. We support this moonlighting mode of entrepreneurship, especially at the beginning when you haven't validated your idea. It's actually better to moonlight and hold on to your paycheck and start your company, start validating without quitting your job, because it may take you a while before you get to validation. It sometimes takes 6, 9, 18, 24 months to validate an idea, and meanwhile bills need to be paid. So holding on to your paycheck is not a problem.
That's great to hear. That's very validating to what we're doing. One follow-up on that is, if we were to go ask for family, friends round of angel investments to get more money to support the work that we're doing, do you know if people prefer full-time working teams rather than moonlighting teams before they would invest?
That depends. When it comes to professional investors, institutional investors or professional angel investors who are not friends and family, they will require that you quit your jobs. But if it's friends and family, they may be okay with your moonlighting and doing it.
I see.
It really depends on what you present to them, how you present to them, and what your relationship is. How much do they know you, your work ethic, your How much do they trust you, etc. That really depends on the personal relationship.
I see. Great to know. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Questions, comments, introductions? All right. Well, if you are, Paul Schleckman, is there anything we can do now with you from a PR point of view? Paul, tell me a bit about your company. Where are you joining from? What stage are you at? I imagine you're not a member of the program, right? Nuro. You work with JR. If a company is under $1 million, then the only forum in which we listen to your company is these. And I will be publishing a recap of this session, and that's about all. And the recording of this session is going to be available on YouTube, and you're welcome to tweet it or whatever, but there's nothing else we can do for you at the moment. Unless you're a part of the premium program. If you're part of the premium program, we can do lots for you. But if you're not part of the premium program, we won't be able to do much for you. Anybody else? Any other questions? Sham is asking, I used to work at an incubator during my college days. Your line of work is somewhat similar to what they do. Thoughts? Well, Sham, there are 7,500 to 8,000 incubators in the world today. Most of them fail. I will point you to an article that I wrote for Harvard Business Review a few years ago called The Problem with Incubators and How to Solve Them. I suggest you go read that, and it'll give you a very clear understanding of what there are incubators and then there are incubators. So, anybody else? All right, folks, thank you for coming today. And as you know, we have roundtables every week in May. Make sure you go to the roundtable page, the registration page, and register to either pitch or attend. And we will meet you back here so that we can work with more of your businesses. This is a working session. It is a safe working session where you get to discuss your strategic challenges openly, and we'll be happy to work with you on those challenges. Thank you for coming, and we will meet you back here next week. Bye, everybody.